Amen. Amen. Okay, here we go. Psalms 10 this week. It'll be titled Living in Times of Trouble. Psalms 9 and 10, and I didn't mention this before the last psalm because it was Mother's Day and we kind of opened up with a Mother's Day tie-in. But Psalms 9 and 10 are linked together by a broken alphabetical acrostic. Now, an alphabetical acrostic is when each verse or each line of the poem or the psalm starts with the next or successive letter of the alphabet, of the Hebrew alphabet more specifically. And what a broken alphabetical acrostic is there are some letters missing. So in other words, if it was like in English, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, and so forth, there would be some missing letters. Maybe C would be missing, maybe F would be missing. And what is the significance of that? Well, if you were a Hebrew reader and you're reading it, you would be expecting the next line to start, if you saw that there was an acrostic there, because each line started with the next letter of the alphabet, and all of a sudden you got to a point where a letter was missing, you'd be like, whoa, something's wrong here. What's going on? This isn't right. There's an error here. Well, the reason why I believe that this is a broken alphabetical acrostic, it is to let us know that we're living during broken times. We're living during a time when things are out of order. Things are not right. Things are missing. Okay, things are missing. And more specifically, I believe we're talking about the time of the Great Tribulation. Now, if you have a companion Bible by E.W. Bullinger, he actually lays this out for you very nicely, and you'll actually see each of the Hebrew letters before each line of this psalm in big type right before each one of the verses. And we actually have that study Bible on our website for those of you who don't have one or have never heard of it. We've got a link to the companion Bible by E.W. Bullinger on the homepage of ChristianOvercomers.com. So I've been using that tool ever since the late 1990s, that study Bible. My kids now use it in their homeschool studies of the Bible. And it's really is it's the best Bible study or the best study Bible that I've ever seen in my endeavors studying the Word. Okay, here we go. Psalms chapter 10, verse 1, it reads, "Why standest thou afar off, O Lord? Why hidest thyself in times of trouble?" Okay, like I said, the alphabetical acrostic was broken up to signify that we are in a time of trouble. And here it is right here. The psalmist opens up with the theme of this psalm is that these are bad times. Okay. Now I truly believe that America is living in the beginning of the times of trouble, or the time of Jacob's trouble. We're seeing our nation falling apart from within. We've got enemies without. And it's just, things are not normal anymore. What is evil and is now celebrated, and what is good is now vilified. Okay. And you're seeing it. You're seeing it every day on the news. These sexual deviants over here are to be celebrated. They're wonderful people. They're brave. But the Christians, those that really study their Bibles, they are hateful, evil bigots. Everything has been reversed. In America, it used to be honorable to be a family man who believed in the Bible and who disciplined their children in the Word of God, but now it's frowned upon as though you are a menace to society. There's something wrong with you, okay? I assure you there's nothing wrong with us, okay? There's something wrong with what's going on in the world out there, and it's very wrong, very wrong. And the psalmist, he's prophesies of this time. And what he's doing here is he's saying, he's pleading with God. He knows God is there, right? He knows God is there, just like we know God is there. He's not doubting God's presence, but what he wants to see happen is he wants to see the times of trouble stop. He wants to see the evil and the wicked doers be judged for their evil works. How many of us think this same thing or make this same prayer at times. Oh Lord, why do you let the liberals and the leftists continually get away with their lies, continually get away with their murder of the innocent babies, you name it. We think these are, what's beautiful about these Psalms, it is the Holy Spirit writing about what we feel inside. God knows how his people will feel, and these basically look deep down inside our hearts. If you're truly a follower of God, you're going to have these feelings, okay? Verse 2, the wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. The poor there doesn't necessarily mean financially poor. It means the oppressed. Who are the oppressed in society today? It's people who believe in the Bible. It is Bible-believing Christians. We are the oppressed. We are the persecuted. And who are the ones persecuting us? Those that hold pride celebrations across America. Can the Bible be any more accurate? It is amazing. God knew long ago that the wicked would fly the banner of pride and at the same time try to remove Christianity and the Bible from the world. So the psalmist says, the wicked in his pride doth persecute the humble or the oppressed. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. Okay, let them be taken in the devices. So the psalmist is saying, God, they're imagining all kinds of evil things against us. Let it happen to them. Let it happen to them. Oh, Pastor Ben, you don't know, you don't understand. We don't make prayers like that. So your prayers are better than the Psalms. The Psalms are not only the prayer book of Israel, but they are not only are they the song book of Israel, is what I'm going to say, the songs that Israel would sing, but it is our prayer book. It is the manual on how we are to pray. And so when you see all of these mainstream churches, so-called, apostate churches is what I'd call them. They're not mainstream, they're apostate, though they're more popular than real churches are now in the world. Now what was I saying here now? We had some distraction going on in the front row here, which usually happens at least once a time. But anyways, let's move on to the next verse. The point I was going to bring up here, and I think it's coming back to me now, is that we got to be very careful of what the mainstream church tries to present us. They try to make it holy and righteous to not pray like the people of the Bible prayed. Okay? They twist biblical Christianity into being what it is now, where there was a church over here in Champlin in Minnesota here that I was totally stunned and shocked. There was this guy that I used to study the Bible with years ago, and studied with him for many years. Went to Bible retreats with him, stayed up till 3 a.m. talking about scriptures, and I couldn't believe it, but I got notification that he was marrying another man in this church. And I haven't talked to him in years, so I just couldn't believe it. I'm seeing a picture of him with another man and him smiling like this is wonderful and great. And I was stunned. I was like, how could somebody go from a Bible-believing Christian, somebody who was an intense Bible studier, not just somebody who went to church and sang songs and walked in and out the door, but somebody who studied their Bible, slipped so far away that he's now marrying another man. I can really tell you how that happens, and why it's so important. Well, the number one reason why this happens is when you get away from studying the Bible on a regular basis, should be a daily basis, chapter by chapter and verse by verse, you are in severe danger of falling away. Studying the Bible chapter by chapter and verse by verse is the only way for you to stay on the course, for you to stay on track with God. And you would say, well, Pastor Ben, that can't be. We just do topical studies. We just do that. Isn't that good enough? Well, how are you getting every word? Jesus said that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. That's from Genesis to the book of Revelation. You cannot live without that, without a continual intake of the word. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And I believe that's what happened to him. He got away he just kind of stopped studying on a regular basis, and then a little bit, kept slipping until all of a sudden now he's somebody who is the very opposite of what a man of God should be. Unfortunately, now he is no longer even a man, okay? Because a man would not do that, a true man. All right? And, and I don't want to, I hate it making it seem like we talk about this topic a lot, but it is so important. When you turn away from your God-given biological gender, or try to marry somebody of the same gender, you are forsaking God's entire purpose for you and for your life. And instead of giving God glory in your life by getting married and having children and doing and being fruitful and multiplying, you're with one other person, and you're just with that other person for your own lustful satisfactions because you're living for yourself. Oh, it's so easy. I don't have to raise a kid. So I'll just say, marry this other man, and man, we can just, we can go take vacations to this exotic island and that exotic island, and we're going to get the best jobs in the corporations these days because they love the LGBT community, and we can just drink booze, take drugs, live life on high, have all the fancy clothes, and that's what they live for. How is that going to bring any kind of joy to your life? There was a football player, and I think I mentioned him the other day. He was speaking to a group of college graduates, and the first bit of advice he gave them was, get married and have children because nothing else matters in life. There's nothing that brings more joy than getting married and having a family and serving each other, serving your wife, serving your husband, serving your children. We're so caught up in the worldly thing is, what do people think about today? And this is one mark of what you'll see among homosexuals a lot. Career. Their career is more important to them than anything else. Their career, their house, their car, their clothes, and their physical gratifications. I don't know how anybody gets physical gratification out of that. It would make me vomit, okay? It would make me vomit. And I can say that because God says the land wants to vomit when there's that kind of stuff going on upon it, okay? So anyways, I don't know how I got over there, but we did. The pride movement. I guess how I got there was I thought about the pride of his countenance and the look on his face. He has no shame whatsoever marrying another man. No shame. In fact, he made some comment on Facebook saying that, this man is such a wonderful, kind man to me or something like that, and I couldn't be more happier. I'm like, really? You couldn't be more happier? Well, if you look at the statistics of homosexuals, you'll find that they're not very happy people. They're skyrocketing in suicide, skyrocketing in depression, skyrocketing statistics in drugs and alcohol abuse, you name it. They are not happy. Don't let them fool you, okay? Oh, but they should be able to get married because it makes them happy. They're not happy. I can say that for a fact because you cannot find joy and true happiness without following God in his natural order. Everything else brings death. Every other choice that opposes the Bible will bring death and sadness and misery. All right, verse 3. For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire. I kind of just mentioned that, right? Oh, and the pastor of that church. did a post, and some of my friends, we were grieving about this, and we were sending these images back and forth like, can you believe this? This is the pastor that's marrying these guys. And the pastor was encouraging his church to attend the ceremony of these two incredible men. These are not men, okay? The moment they decided they were not going to fulfill God's command and be one with another woman, they forsook being a man. They are not men. They are reprobates, okay? They are reprobates. There's more to being a man than just being having the biological equipment, okay? Being a man means acting like a man. And oh, Pastor Ben, how do you say that? Well, look at when God talked to Ezekiel. What did he say to him? Stand up. When Ezekiel fell down and he was, kind of scared or whatever, God said, stand up like a man and I will talk to you. So there's more to being a man, okay, than just being a biological man. And perhaps that's something that we should talk more about in the coming days, because Satan is and the closing verse, we'll talk about this a little bit more, but Satan is doing everything he can to destroy manhood. He's doing everything he can to destroy manhood. Why? Because the men are supposed to be the protectors, the spiritual leaders of the families. They are that strong force that is supposed to oppose Satan, a Christian man. If Satan can take away Christian men, then it's very easy for him to deceive the women and the children. Okay. Now, with that said, and we are going to get through some verses here, I can't help but bring this into the discussion here. You're seeing Bud Light. Everybody knows what happened with Bud Light, right? They thought it would be really cool to advertise their beer to supposedly a manly group of people, okay, or macho, I should say. More people that are actually still have a little bit of manliness about them, okay, that have a few beers after work. And they thought it'd be really cool to put have a transgender man, a man dressed as a woman, as their way to advertise for their beer. And all these other companies are doing. I just saw Ford. Ford had these rough trucks, driving through the rough terrain. And then all of a sudden you keep seeing this little glimmer of a rainbow shining on one of them. And that one starts going ahead of the other truck. And then they get to the finish line, and the truck in front all of a sudden turns into a total rainbow truck. The rainbow truck beat the other regular, manly truck. What are they doing? Why are they doing this? It doesn't make sense economically, right? They're not doing this for economic reasons. They're not doing this to sell more beer. They're not doing this to sell more trucks. They're doing this to destroy manhood in America as one of the final steps, I believe, before the complete downfall of America and the coming of the Antichrist. They need to remove all remnants of manliness in America. They need to normalize effeminate behavior among men so that you guys know what happens. They keep pushing these images in front of us all the time. And all of a sudden, what do people do that are not in the Bible on a regular basis? They start breaking down, giving in. They start getting used to seeing that. It's not shocking anymore. A man dressed as a woman doesn't shock me anymore. It's normal. Here, give me that beer with a man dressed as a woman on. I'll just drink it. It's beer. Think about that. That's unfortunately, unless there's a drastic, reformation in America, the men that you see complaining about the transgenders on the Bud Light can right now that have boycotted them, it won't be long before those men they give up. Fine, whatever. I'll drink the beer. And all of a sudden, they start becoming more effeminate. Their kids grow up and they're really soft, effeminate boys. And all of a sudden we have no more manliness in America. All right. Continuing on. For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blesseth the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth. Oh my gosh, God doesn't hate, abhorreth mean God hates. God hates covetousness, okay? Now the wicked, what do? They bless those that are covetous, okay? Whoa, have you ever heard of socialism? Okay, the people that promote socialism, who are the people that want socialism? The people that don't want to work for their money, work for a living. Okay. The people that want the government or somebody else to do the work for them, and that they just get to have free, those free things, free handouts. That is anybody who wants something that they didn't earn. If you want something that you didn't earn, that's being covetousness. That's being covetous. Okay. And God hates that. So in other words, I could say it like this: God hates socialism. Okay. He hates those who don't want to pull their weight and work for a living. Okay. So right there we have, who does that today? Well, the Democrat Party. They are continually blessing those that covet things that do not belong to them. We could go on a very deep level on this. How about those that covet America? Okay, America doesn't belong to you people. You white Christians that founded this country doesn't belong to you anymore. We need new faces here. We need immigration. I've literally heard this in conferences, and I can't be more specific than that, where the people said they basically said we need to see more faces here other than white faces doing this and that. Could you imagine if I went somewhere else and said, if I went to Africa and said, or Asia, and I said, well, we're seeing too many Chinese faces here, or we need a little bit more diversity. We need some more white faces around here. Could you imagine that? They would laugh at me. Why does that happen today? I already brought it up. Manliness. Okay? Men are supposed to be the protectors not only of their family, but what? Their community and their tribe. Okay? We are inbred in our nature by God to defend our tribe. Okay? Well, how do you say that? Well, have you ever studied David when he said to the Philistines, hey, to that giant, hey, you uncircumcised Philistine? Then we could go on the whole story, but yeah. All right. I better move on. All right. So God despises that, and we should as well. Verse 4, the wicked through the pride, there it is again, through the pride of his countenance will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts. Wow. Does that not fit exactly what we're seeing in the world today? You see those people walking around in these pride celebrations. I mean, they're literally using the word pride. And they're walking around. They have these lofty countenances, and they think, I don't need God. I don't need anybody telling me what to do. Look at us. We are the new normal, or we are the new society. That Bible believing Christianity, that was so 1800s and be backwards. Okay, we're moving forwards. We're progressing. You guys are the dinosaurs. You don't get it. We're way better than we used to be. Okay, that's what they literally think. Now here's a deeper another lesson for us before we just start pointing the finger at other people. The definition of a wicked person, part of the definition of being a wicked person is to not seek after God and to not have him in your thoughts continually. Wow. Think about that. You could be a wicked person and go to church every Sunday. If you're not actively seeking God in his word, chapter by chapter and verse by verse, and you're not thinking about God on a daily basis, and throughout the day. That is the definition of a wicked person. Oh, but I thought wicked person were only these people that were revolting, these people that are murdering, these people that are doing that. No, because what is going to be your problem? If you don't have time for God, if you don't have time to study the Bible chapter by chapter and verse by verse, what do you already have? It's idolatry, right? Pride. I don't need to do that. That's not for me. I don't need to study the Bible line by line. That's pride. There's no other word for it. Once you say you don't need to, you make some excuse why you can't or why you shouldn't have to. That's pride. That is pride. Verse 5. Now you understand why Jesus said straight and narrow is the gate and few there are that find it, but wide is the gate and wide is the path to destruction. Okay? Because there are the more and more, when I look, I think about one of my first Bible study groups that I belonged to, 20 plus years ago, 25 years ago. And I honestly don't know, out of maybe 20, I don't even know if half of them are still around studying the Bible. Some of them have been taken out. Motorcycle accident, other means of death. Okay. And the one guy that I just talked about, all of a sudden he's marrying another man. Now, tell that to the once saved, always saved crowd. Is that man still saved? Because he was saved back when I studied the Bible with him. So is he still going to go to heaven in that condition? An unrepentant sinner smiling in the arms of another man? Trying to find joy and happiness in the arms of another pervert? You have to overcome, my friends. Verse 5, his ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are, now check this out. I love this verse. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. Nothing's going to happen to me. And he doesn't understand. The wicked person does not understand God's judgments. Oh, the Old Testament laws. Oh man, that was back when the God was a mean, vindictive God. Yeah, we don't follow those laws anymore, okay? And I've talked about this before. It makes me laugh because I think a great part of the New Testament is the same as the Old Testament. There's no difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament. The only difference is there was a new covenant made and a restoration of Israel with the coming of Jesus Christ, and then those people from the other nations that are joined into it. But there was nothing different about the commandments of God. In fact, Jesus actually told us that he was elevating the law in Matthew chapter 5, where, you're not just a murderer if you commit the act, but you're a murderer if you hate your brother for no reason in your heart. Okay? Or if you're not an adulterer only if you are caught in the act of adultery or physically carry out the act. You're an adulterer if you're lusting after another woman that's not your wife in your heart. Okay? So the law is not done away with. And so the enemies, they don't understand God's judgments. They think they're too severe. So be real careful, my friends. If you're reading the Bible and you say, I don't like that part of it. I don't like that homosexuals were called an abomination in the book of Leviticus. I don't like that. Well, guess what? Join the class of the wicked people, because that's what you are when God's judgments are far above out of your sight and you can't understand them and you don't agree with them. There was this one guy that I happened to be talking to. His dad was a pastor, and he's a rebel kid and decided he wasn't going to follow the way, right? And he made some comment at the end of our discussion was, well, one day me and the big man are going to have a conversation. I'm like, oh yeah, really? You're going to have a conversation. You're going to melt right in front of him, buddy. And before you melt, you're going to wet your pants and the other thing out the back too. And I'm not going to be laughing, but I mean, I cannot believe somebody would be so stupid. You better and think about this. Jesus said that every idle word that a man speaks from his mouth, he will be held to account of on the day of judgment. So sitting around at a table and saying something like that, he's going to be accountable for that statement. It doesn't just go away. God doesn't just say, oh, he didn't know what he was talking about. He's just being foolish, whatever. No, he's going to answer for that statement. You don't brazenly oppose God and his word and his judgments and get a free pass. Okay? I cannot wait until all the enemies that hate God's word and mock it get to face, well, first they're going to face Jesus when he comes to bring his wrath upon those people. But ultimately, when the heavens and the earth are fled, and there is nothing everything else is suspended for a time. What time am I talking about? The great white throne judgment. In the book of Revelation, it says that heaven and earth disappear, at least momentarily, and all there is the throne of God and the people standing in line, waiting to stand before that throne. Nothing else matters at that time. You and God. Imagine that. Someday we're going to be there standing before him. I tell you what, I want him to smile at me and say, a job well done, my good and faithful son. I do not want to face his judgment. Okay? I do not want to face his judgment. Anyways, verse 6. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. This is what the wicked people really believe this in their heart. Nothing's going to happen to me. God's not going to judge me. There's no judgment day. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. Now, does this not describe an entire political party today? And that's not justifying the other political party, because there are plenty of liars in that party as well. But there is one political party today in America that has completely departed from God in every single one of their party's platform or their stances on any kind of issues. Okay. And also they curse, they lie, they commit fraud, and it's the Democrat Party right there. Verse 8, he sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. Okay. In the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor. In other words, they do a lot of things in secret to try to harm us. We know they do. Their secret meetings, their they take secret counsel against God's people. How are we going to, well, I'll give you an example of this. Do you think Bud Light ad, Ford ad, and all these other ads, perverted ads, all of a sudden just happened? Between all of these different businesses, do you think this just, all of a sudden, they just started doing this at once and it was just a happenstance? These people literally got together, coordinated this attack on our nation, and didn't care and don't care about the outcome of it. I will say this, and I haven't done a lot of homework on it, but this should make us wonder a little bit. I heard that the CEO of Bud Light was actually an ex-CIA agent. Okay. So what do those guys do? They do a lot of covert, they're trained in covert activity. Okay. But we know that this is all orchestrated and planned. They have meetings. This doesn't just millions of dollars and millions of dollars and countless hours of planning on many levels go into coordinating all this to happen at the same time. It's not an accident. Okay. They're trying to hurt us and your family. and our families. Verse 9, he lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. Now picture a lion just looking after the prey. This reminds me of, I think it was Peter in the book of Peter. He said, be on guard, for your adversary, the devil, is as a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. Okay? Think about this also as the demons, not just the wicked people, but demons. They're waiting, and I'm not trying to scare people. They're watching you, okay? They're waiting for the moment where you're weak so they can tempt you and draw you into their trap. All right? So, and you can't see them, right? They are in secret. He lieth in wait to catch the poor, and I wanted to say poor there, the oppressed, the humble. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. Traps, my friends, they're out there, they're lurking. Verse 10, he croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. He hath said in his heart, God hath forgotten. He hideth his face, he will never see it. So these are what the wicked people say. They say, evidently, God's not doing anything about it. Maybe he doesn't exist. I don't know, but I'm getting away with all this stuff. Think about all the Democrats that have committed all these crimes and it's all out in the open. And yet, nobody's gone to jail. Nobody's going to jail. Hillary's still free with her lofty looks and thinking she's untouchable. Wow. It's only for a time. We'll see. Verse 12, arise. Oh, I love this. Arise, O Lord. Hey, men, you want to know how to pray? You want to know how to pray for your nation? Do you want to know how to pray for your people, your family? Check this out. Arise, O Lord, O God, lift up thine hand. Forget not the humble. Lift up your hand to do what? Lift up your hand to smack the enemy, okay? Now, that's not us. I got to be careful because one guy accused me of promoting violence, that I was going to carry out the wrath of God upon my enemies. No, vengeance belongs to the Lord, but we get to watch. Okay, we get to watch. That psalm's coming up, talking about when we get to watch what he does. Verse 13, wherefore doth the wicked condemn God? Whoa, how often do we hear people condemn God? Surely the book of Leviticus is a wicked book. I mean, these are two loving men. These are two loving women that want to love each other, and this is saying that is an abomination. This is hateful. We cannot have this. Let's remove this part. In fact, in Canada now, if you read scriptures such as Leviticus, and it slips me, I don't know the exact verse on it. What is it?
I think it's in chapter
26, Leviticus 26 or 18, I can't remember. But anyways, if you read some of those scriptures and you preach those out in public, you could go to jail. Can you believe that? The wicked condemn God. He hath said in his heart, thou wilt not require it. You're not going to do anything about what I'm doing. I keep getting away with it. I'm celebrated. There's nothing wrong with what I'm doing. Verse 14, thou hast seen it, for thou beholdest mischief and spite, to requite it with thine hand. The poor committeth himself unto thee. Thou art the helper of the fatherless. Now that's really interesting here, okay? God is the helper of the fatherless. What does that tell us? The fatherless were vulnerable. They needed God's protection. And who went after the fatherless? The enemy. Why does the enemy go after the fatherless? Because they're easy prey. And you wonder why the world is in such bad shape today, because we allowed the enemy to bind the strong fathers in America by mocking them, ridiculing fatherhood, making fathers out to be just a bunch of imbeciles, no intelligence, you name it. So we've gotten rid of manliness and fatherhood, and now these children have no fathers. And I'm not talking about, I mean, first off, we can look at statistics and see that children that do not have a father are, I don't know how many more times likely to commit crimes, and it's off the charts, okay? If you don't have a father in the house, you're already in a bad spot, okay? Why? Because Satan can come and deceive you. There's no father there to say, hey, we're not having that in this house. That's garbage. Get it out of here, okay? We need fathers to do that, okay? Unfortunately, and there are a lot of strong mothers that do that, but fathers have a way of doing it better than a woman would when it comes to that. A woman is more of the nurturer, the lover. The father says, no, absolutely not. We're not doing that. And the mom will comfort the children after the father does that. It's okay. He knows what's best for you and all that kind of stuff. All right. But where am I going with this here? Fatherless children are vulnerable. And therefore we know by default, if you would, that having a father in the house is extremely, extremely important. And we're not talking about just it's important to have a biological dad, number one. That's a good start. But we're talking about a father. You can make children and not be a father. Okay? Anybody can, any male, biological male can procreate children, but not every male has learned what it means to be a father. Okay? Fathers have to shepherd the sheep. They have to protect their family from these lurkers out there watching the family, right? We just read those verses. The lions out there lurking. We know they're out there. Fathers should know they're out there. And when they see the advance of those enemies, those wicked people, they say, no, we're not doing that. And obviously the kids might not like that right away. They might think it's not fair. We're being restricted from doing things that the rest of the people of the world are doing. But it is all about protection. It is all about protection. Okay, verse 15. Break thou. Oh man, this guy's getting way too violent on me. Can we just go to a soft verse somewhere? I mean, does this guy know how to pray? The psalmist? No, I'm teasing. It's the Holy Spirit praying, my friend. So we got to be very careful. Be very careful if you don't like this verse. Break thou the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Seek out his wickedness till thou find none. Man, I love the masculinity of the Holy Spirit here. Beautiful. This should be the prayer of a man of your house, a man in our society. When he sees the wicked doing what they're doing, he should pray to God and say, hey, break their arms, destroy them, get rid of these wicked doers. They're hurting people. But now we just have it's just, be soft, be gentle. And most pastors that you see in churches today, it's all like pastel colors behind them. And they're like, you want to join our church today? We love and accept. There's no break the arms of the wicked. I don't even know if, I wonder if I put this verse in front of some of those pastors today and I said, read this verse right now. I can't. It's not nice. It would be really a good time to see that. Verse 16, the Lord is king forever and ever. The heathen are perished out of the land. Wow, I love how this psalm transitions to a time of trouble, to breaking their arms, to ultimately the psalmist knows that God is king forever, and the heathen or the wicked will perish out of our land. Can you imagine this? We are going to have a time when there's no more going to be BLM, Antifa, LGBTQ. They're not going to be around anymore. Because they're all anti-God heathens, right? They're going to perish. We could actually literally go to our cities, whatever the world looks like at that time, go there and not worry about some freak show happening in front of us or some riot or some store getting looted while we're there. And you can go there and feel safe. Okay? You can't do that today. You go into our major cities now. Look at what's going on in Seattle and California. Chicago's been crazy for a long time. You can't go there and feel safe. And if you go there and like being there and think I like being here, there's something wrong with you. Who the heck would want to walk the streets where there's wicked lions lurking in every corner ready to devour you? Not me, man. So anyways, it's going to be a wonderful time when the heathen are perished out of the land. We no longer have to deal with this turmoil, this just all this disgusting stuff that bothers our souls deep down inside, because God's going to set it right, and it's going to be an amazing place. And God's going to be sitting on the throne judging. And I think we have another verse here. I thought that was the last one. Verse 17, Lord, thou hast heard the desire of the humble. What is the desire of the humble? Break the arms of the wicked. Lift up your hand against the wicked. That's what a truly humble person prays. Thou wilt prepare their heart. Thou wilt cause thine ear to hear. You will hear their prayers. To what? To judge the fatherless and the oppressed, that the man of the earth, ultimately the Antichrist, may no more oppress. Wow. No more oppression, no more wickedness. It's going to be destroyed, and we're going to be living in an amazing, happy, joyful place without the worry of defilement and all this stuff. It's going to be wonderful. I hope you enjoyed that psalm. The times of trouble, times are broken right now, but they will be restored. Until then, we have to stay the course, stay in his word, and not be seduced by these wicked demonic spirits of this world. We'll be right back with questions and comments. Be sure to join us live every Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. for prophecy updates, and Sunday mornings, 10:30 a.m. for our line-by-line Bible studies. If you live near Princeton, Minnesota, and would like to join us in person for our Sunday morning church services, please email me at ben@christianovercomers.com for details and directions. Also, be sure to visit our website at christianovercomers.com to sign up for our weekly email updates, find our latest prophecy updates on video or podcast, catch up with our line-by-line studies, also available on video or audio podcast. And we even archive all of our studies by date. So if you have a phone or a tablet, bookmark this page so you can play our studies on the go while you're driving, going for a run, or doing chores. Now to our questions and comments. All right, welcome back. Questions and comments.
Yeah, one of my questions is, the missing letters in the, what'd you call it, acrostic?
Yep.
I'm sure this isn't the first time somebody's thought of it, but do you think it's possible that that's some of the code that people talk about in the Bible? Like if you take the missing letters and it spells, I've never done it or even looked into it, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, I do believe that definitely is part of what people call the Bible codes. Our acrostics do fit into that, definitely fit into that category. I think some people take it maybe to an extreme, but there are definitely, in the Companion Bible, Dr. Bullinger has uncovered or, has pointed out many acrostics in different books. I don't know if he's pointed out like 12, 14, or 15 of them, some really interesting ones, but I'm sure there are also ones that haven't been discovered yet and that are there. And they usually, they usually, from my experience with the acrostics, they usually solidify what the passages are already saying. But there are some, I think, that are probably deeper messages to the servant that is trying to seek out God's word and understand things. I think there are treasures, hidden treasures in the word in the form of acrostics. But at the same time, I got to caution against people getting, going down the rabbit hole and forgetting the plain sense of Scripture and just looking for mysteries all day long.
Right. Yeah, it's fascinating and interesting. It'd be fun to look into that a little deeper at some point. I was going to say, Bud Light, after they did that thing with the trans person in the bathtub, that guy that's like a woman thing, it actually did hurt them. And I know that their overall stock or their worth is down at least 25% since that happened. And that's encouraging to me. I think that is still one of the most powerful ways. I don't know why people are against boycotting. I mean, it's one of the most powerful ways that we can make a difference with corporations or people and different things that happen like that. I mean, I still believe, I could be wishful thinking, but I still believe that more than 50% of the people in this country are still old school, America first, God-fearing people that don't like what's going on in this country, in this world. We're just not as loud and vocal. We're not the ones screaming on the streets and doing the parades and the social media and stuff like that. So, I mean, I still think we have a lot of power in that. And then what else did I have here? Oh, when we were talking about the lies, and it's so frustrating because I don't think people realize how much the left actually does lie. Literally every day, Joe Biden, everything he says, he lies about, and it's just amazing. But it's a strategy, and until people understand it, which the people on the left never will. But all they do is they tell a lie over and over and over again, and then until they get called out on it. And nobody hears about them getting called out on it because the media is protecting them. Maybe a few places will say it, and okay, you're right, we're wrong, or whatever. But all they hear was the lie that was told over and over again. So now that lie is the truth. Yeah. It's a perfect, brilliant, wicked strategy, and it works for them. I mean, one of the big ones is on the January 6th thing. They still, every time you hear them talk about it, they say 6 people died and cops died and this and that. And one person died during that thing. And to this day, I bet if you ask anybody, they would think there was a mass death and all kinds of craziness and stuff. I mean, there were a few things that got out of hand, and I'm not promoting it. But only one person died. And some people died the next week after. The cops that were involved had heart attacks, which is also really suspicious. But it's just one of those things that they just keep telling that lie, and now people think that on that day there was all these people that died, and it was just a horrible thing. But so anyway, I just think strategies like that, if we don't call them out on that, or at least try to educate people. But I suppose some people are never going to be educated, and that's just the way it is.
And it's so frustrating for those of us that know these are lies, and you see these people believe the lies. You're like, how can you just sit there and believe this stuff? Yeah. But they love it. They love to eat up the lies. It's
exactly.
It's maddening.
Hand of Seed says Romans 1:28, and even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. And anyway, I think the question is, does being given over to a reprobate mind mean God would allow demonic possessions? And if so, is it the demon that's being judged, or the soul of the flesh body?
That's a good question. So she's quoting Romans chapter 1, where since God is not in all of their thoughts, that's actually ties directly into the Psalm. Paul, when he wrote the book of Romans, probably was quoting from this Psalm when he referenced that. Is that since God is not in their thoughts, he has allowed their mind to become so twisted or reprobate that is a punishment in and of itself. That your mind, you've lost your mind. You know, your mind has become so wicked, and because you won't acknowledge God, in Romans there it says, because they wouldn't acknowledge God, God let their minds become demented and twisted. Now, whether that's demonic, I think that probably includes demonic possession. Because I don't think these people, I mean, well, what do we have? A lot of these people, I'm they, you know.
Yeah.
We know in the Bible, the only person that wanted to go by they was a person that was possessed with a legion of demons.
That's a great point.
And so when people say they want to be they, I have to assume that they are possessed with not just one demon, but multiple demons. But yeah, it to me, it looks like it's so backwards. It's so vile. It's so wicked that I truly believe that these people have demonic spirits in them at that point. I don't know. Demons seem to be so monstrously against God that they just love everything that is absolutely disgusting and filthy and abominable. And I think these people allow themselves to be taken over by these demons, and then they defile their bodies in these grotesque, disgusting ways. I mean, think about that. You mean these bodies are important. You commit an act like that, we don't know, even if it's one time somebody does it, you don't know the physical harm that your body, your temple, has endured, and the effects that will have on your body for the rest of your life. I mean, I don't want to go, obviously we're not going to go into any details, but that you defile your body, man, in those ways and expect things to be damaged. And so I guess my point is, these people, these demons take control of their bodies, and they ruin and defile the person that they are inhabiting. And they like it when humans are hurt. They hate us. These demons hate people. They hate our souls, and they want to hurt us in any way they can.
Be Still and Know has a really good point here. Research ESG scoring, which is in part why like Bud Light and other companies are doing what they're doing. And whoever implemented the ESG scoring is obviously, in my opinion, part of the whole evil in our culture. You know, I think it's environment, social, and governance. I think what they stand for. And if companies don't fulfill all three of those, they can be, turned down on financial loans, or I don't know all the details, but it's a way of keeping people woke, or keeping companies woke. And that's a great point, and that's probably why a lot of them are doing it. In fact, I'm pretty sure that is why a lot of them are doing it.
That's crazy. Yeah, instead of, companies back in the day setting moral standards, these people are, they're setting new standards, but to promote these bad things.
Yeah.
So they're setting standards for all of our businesses to follow, and they're Antichrist standards.
Well, and it's like the companies don't actually care about those people in those communities. They care about the score. They care about the money. So they're taking advantage of those people that have been deceived and are they're just using that. So it's not like they really care about these people that are struggling. And because if they did, they would see the numbers of the depression and the suicide and all the anxiety and mental health that is completely plaguing this population, and they would want to fix it, but they don't. They care about the money. So they're taking advantage of these people that have been completely deceived in their minds.
Exactly.
That's a good point. Yeah, they want to make the money, and they don't want anybody to look down upon them as unrighteous, according to the new standards of righteousness in our country, which is being woke, supposedly.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant strategy to have that. So even the companies, even if they, they don't have a religious bone in their body, but they're not good or bad, they're just about making profits. It forces them into being that way, whether they want to or not. They have to if they want to continue to compete
Yeah.
at a high level. And Be Still and Know says sometimes boycotting is a double-edged sword. Reduction of staff leads to social services. I suppose that could be true, but I think that you still gotta boycott companies that are doing bad things. And if they do have to lay people off, then they lay people off, and maybe that's better for the person that got laid off in the first place. I don't. That's my opinion.
Well, so I think that I know a lot of people that promote no boycotts. They're looking at America as an ideal place where everybody respects each other. We all have our freedoms and differences of opinions. And if you boycott, they're afraid that now we're punishing people for different beliefs or opinions. But the problem with that thinking is if you don't boycott the wicked are going to start boycotting you. And so there's no peace with the wicked. There's no agreement with the evildoers. You're either going to have righteousness rule over the wicked, or the wicked will rule over the righteous. And the minute you start thinking there's some middle ground with each other, you're succeeding ground to the enemy. And ultimately we see this happen. The mark of the beast really is the ultimate boycott. It's you are boycotted from society if you don't bow down and worship the beast, his image, and the number of his name. You're not woke, right? If you're not, that's the ultimate definition of being woke, is taking the mark of the beast.
Right.
And so we're seeing the very beginnings of that. It's alarming at how close I think we're getting to the times that have been foretold of for thousands of years in the Bible.
Philip Evans says Anheuser-Busch Company owns several global brands. To boycott them completely, we should make note of the list of brands. And to that, I say, you could probably find something in every corporation or company to boycott, but that, in my opinion, isn't how boycott should work. It should be just specifically on what the specific event was. Like, it was a Bud Light commercial, so you boycott Bud Light. I mean, you can't sit and look at every company that Anheuser-Busch is a part of, and then, I suppose you could, but I don't think that sends the message. I think you get specific on your boycott. If it's just Bud Light that did that, and that's what they're used, then you boycott Bud Light, and they send a message that way. Again, my opinion.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Ron Prevost says, "Don't worry, some of us from the old study group are holding fast, brother."
All right. Yeah, there we go. We just saw Ron a few weeks ago. He came out and visited, and it was a good time catching up with him. He was one of the group that I was with, for about 25 years ago.
Craig Nelson says ESG scoring was started by the United Nations. Just another example of one world government. Yep.
Yeah.
Be Still and Know says, agree, I boycott too, but are setting up the failure of companies like stealing knit stopped and now business being closed. I'm not sure, but I'm sure it's kind of what she was saying. Or I don't know, I always assume it's a she for some reason. This person, again, is saying, that boycotting can cause more problems by, harming the people that are working within the company.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing when you're living in Mystery Babylon. Daniel lived in Babylon, and he was a government official. Same with Joseph. He was in Egypt as a high-ranking official, and those are pagan countries. Those are pagan societies. So we can learn from. I mean, it's really tough when we're in the world. We're not going to have the world be exactly how we want it. This isn't the kingdom of God. But at the same time, we don't want to just roll over and let all these bad things happen and say, well, this is part of the world. So it is, it's obviously difficult for us to know where is the line on certain things like boycotts and things like that.
And then I got another one. Craig Nelson says, what do you think needs to happen before we are finally in the end times? I too think that we are close, but I'm not sure what we should be looking for.
Well, I think Jesus talked about in Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21, the beginnings of sorrows, which would be the beginnings of the birth pangs of the tribulation, would be distress among nations, wars and rumors of wars, and famines. So I think, and pestilences. I think we're sort of in the beginnings right now. I really think we are. We're starting to see, with all of this diversity and inclusion happening in America, we're letting all these people in from these different countries, and there's no unification of our people. Everybody has the different religions, different cultures. There's going to come a boiling point in these nations where there's going to be conflicts and wars probably within nations, because well, think about we know how aggressive the Islam can be with people that don't follow their ways. They literally have their own police forces patrolling cities in America today and finding white women that are wearing clothes that they don't approve of and chastising them, whipping them, or do whatever. And so that eventually I think will reach a boiling point, because Jesus said there will be distress inside of the nations, that the nations themselves would be falling apart from within. And the stage certainly seems to be being set for that.
Well, and I was right. Be Still and Know is a woman named Maureen.
All right.
So we're good there.
Yeah.
That's it.
Any other questions and comments? I'm going to pass that over.
I do believe one of the biggest signs, if I can say this without breaking down, is what they're doing to our children in separating our children from God. You can't go any lower than that. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening. And I know I've read a lot of things about, I'm not judging, I'm not God, but about in the American Conservative, they talked about the trans mind virus is mutating. And they're destroying our children by many laws that are making the bad things, I don't want to say too much, we have a lot of children here, but pedophilia and stuff to be okay.
Right.
That's sick. That is the sickest thing you can do. How can it go any farther than that?
I think you're absolutely right. When you take away, Minnesota, I think Walz is signing or just done something, making it so that fighting for, they call it health care for transgender children. That is not. There's nothing caring about that. That is they're talking about is the government funding the mutilation of our children's private parts. That should be one of the most severest crimes that someone could commit, and they're literally acting like this is health care. It's not health care.
I have such a hard time how to pray for that. As far as you talked about God saying in the Psalms, breaking their arms. Boy, I could say a lot more than that for what's going on with our children.
Yeah. Well, Jesus did say it would be better that a millstone be hanged around someone's neck than that than if they offend one of these little ones. It'd be better than a millstone be hanging around their neck and cast to the bottom of the sea
It's such
for
a
them in the day of judgment.
spiritual warfare right now. It's way
Yeah.
above humans.
Yeah.
Against humans. It's Satan and his demons.
You're right. I mean, Satan literally is, and the demons are literally trying to destroy mankind. And now they went after, the adults with all of the acceptance of all this homosexual stuff, and now they're going after paying. Now they're trying to mutilate our children at young ages, destroy their hopes of ever having a normal family and children and things like that. You couldn't take away. Now there are biblical laws. There is law, and maybe I'll try to make this a little funny here, lighten the mood a little bit. There was a biblical law that was very severe. I think it was the death penalty if there were two men fighting, and the wife of one man stepped in and did some damage to the other man's testicles. She was supposed to get the death penalty for that, because, and you might think, remember we talked about God's judgments, or the wicked don't understand them, right? But the righteous do understand him. Why was that such a severe punishment? If it's some thug criminal attacking your husband, you could kick him in the, you know what I mean? But these are just two guys that had an argument about something and they're fighting, right? And you can't, and if the wife, why would God punish that so severely? Because he wants us to know that, the family lineage, because if that woman damaged his male parts and he could no longer have children, she just murdered all of his future children by that one act. And so what that tells you is God highly values a man or a woman's ability to be able to have offspring, have children on the earth. That is one of the most significant things he's given us to be able to do. And so on the outside, if somebody who doesn't understand that about God looks at that and says, that's ridiculous. The death penalty for that, but that's severe. You take away man's ability to have children, you're robbing him of generations of offspring that he was, could be blessed with. So I thought it's kind of funny, but it's not.
Yeah, makes sense.
But kind of puts things in perspective of damaging private parts, whether it's to an adult or to an adult is bad enough, but to children, it doesn't get more. Like you're saying, I don't think it gets much more wicked than this.
I'll just say one thing quick, just in case there's any left-wing government officials watching or in the future. We are not in any way promoting violence or in any way, shape, or form. But if God decides to do something, we're all for it.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Yeah, we're not suggesting that anybody go out and break the arms of the wicked. That if God's going to do that, it's his prerogative, and we are just merely delivering the word. Anything else? All right, we'll leave it right there. I just want to let everybody know we are on Rumble now and Twitter. Twitter is where you're going to find most of our Bible posts or anything to do with if there's some political thing going on. That's where we will post it. We will no longer be posting our Bible stuff on Facebook. The format wasn't that great. It didn't work good. And now Twitter's supposedly under better management right now, but we'll see. We'll see about that. But for the time being, it looks like Twitter's got a better future than Facebook. So we've moved over there for a number of different reasons. So you can find us on Twitter. We have a link to our Twitter account in the video description if you need to find it there. Anyways, God bless you. Stay in his word every single day so that you can be a Christian overcomer. God bless.
Christian Overcomers is brought to you by the tithes and offerings of our listeners. If you would like to support our ministry, please go to ChristianOvercomers.com. God bless you, and thank you for your support.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He has loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible sword. His truth is marching on.